the 24th of November, 1971. Thanksgiving Eve. A man calling himself Dan Cooper approached the counter of Northwest Orient Airlines in Portland, Oregon. He paid cash, $20 for a one-way ticket on Flight 305 bound for Seattle. It seemed ordinary until it became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in FBI history. Cooper was calm, polite, and well-dressed. He looked to be in his mid-40s, wearing a dark business suit, a crisp white shirt, and a black tie. To the crew and passengers, he seemed more like a traveling businessman than a desperate criminal. He boarded the Boeing 727 and settled into seat 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda while waiting for departure. A little after 3 p.m., Cooper handed a flight attendant a small folded note. At first, she ignored it because she assumed it was his phone number and tucked it away. But Cooper leaned in and said quietly, "Miss, you'd better read that note. I have a bomb." Opening a cheap attaché case, he revealed a jumble of wires and red sticks. Whether real explosives or not, no one could take the risk. He dictated a new note, demanding 4 parachutes and $200,000 in $20 bills, an amount that would be worth about $1.5 million today. Soon, flight attendants carried a handwritten note to the captain. The FBI, alerted mid-flight, rushed into action. They prepared the bills and carefully recorded by serial number. At 5:24 p.m., Flight 305 landed in Seattle. Cooper kept his composure as the ransom and parachutes were delivered. He released the 36 passengers unharmed, but held on to 4 crew members and ordered the plane back into the air. He gave the pilots specific instructions. Fly south to Mexico City, stay under 10,000 feet. Keep the speed near 200 miles per hour. Maintain the flaps at 15 degrees. And most unusual of all, keep the rear staircase lowered. The Boeing 727 was one of the few planes that allowed a mid-air exit this way. Cooper clearly knew its design. Somewhere between Seattle and Reno, a heavily wooded area near the Lewis River in Clark County, Washington. Around 8:13 p.m., the crew noticed the tail dip and the pressure gauges shift. The hijacker was gone. The pilots landed safely, but Dan Cooper had vanished. The FBI called the case NORJAC, short for Northwest Hijacking. Hundreds of agents and soldiers searched the wilderness. Helicopters scoured the treetops. Dogs combed the undergrowth. Not a trace was found. In 1980, a family camping along the Columbia River made a discovery. Their young son dug into the sand and unearthed a bundle of rotting $20 bills. It totaled $5,800. Serial numbers matched the ransom money. It was the first and only physical evidence ever recovered from Cooper's jump. Investigators assumed from the very beginning that Cooper's chances of survival were slim. The night of the 24th of November was stormy and unforgiving. Heavy rain battered the Boeing 727 as it flew low over Washington state. Winds reached more than 100 miles per hour, and temperatures at 10,000 feet hovered near freezing. Below stretched endless forest, rugged terrain, and fast-moving rivers. Cooper jumped into this chaos wearing a business suit, loafers, and a light trench coat. He carried no helmet, no compass, no survival equipment. One of the parachutes he strapped on was a reserve that had been sewn shut, meant only for training. And the parachute he used had no steering controls, leaving him at the mercy of the wind and the storm. To the FBI, it seemed impossible that he walked away alive. And yet, there were signs of planning. Cooper knew the Boeing 727's unique rear staircase could be lowered in flight, something few passengers would know. He gave precise instructions for altitude, speed, and flap settings. He demanded multiple parachutes, perhaps to discourage the FBI from tampering with them, since he could have forced a hostage to jump. He tied the money bag securely to himself using parachute cord, suggesting forethought, not panic. To this day, some investigators still believed he perished that night. Others insisted he had the knowledge and calm temperament to succeed. Copycat hijacker Richard Floyd McCoy proved that such escapes were possible, though he was ultimately ruled out as Cooper himself. Over the decades, hundreds of suspects were questioned, some even confessing on their deathbeds. None could be proven. Even until now, no one knows whether D.B. Cooper's story ended in the dark forests of Washington or whether he lived on quietly, a fugitive who pulled off the perfect crime. In 2016, the FBI closed the case. D.B. Cooper remains the only unidentified hijacker in U.S. history. Was he an unlucky amateur who perished in the forests of Washington? Or a brilliant fugitive who disappeared with the money and lived out his days in secret? The answer may still lie buried in the trees, the rivers, and the shadows of the Pacific Northwest. This is where the story ends. So, what do you think? Did he perish in the forests? Or did he survive and slip away into history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.